And if you're now tuned in, you're now rocking with the best. I'm your host, Sensei H, on another dope episode of Sen's Corner. Hey, we finally sitting up here kicking this off. My co-host Chuck Black, he was unavailable to be here today, but he's in here with us in spirit. What's up, Chuck? What's up, Rich? What's up, Everybody? This, if you don't know, Sen's Corner is the podcast that, we provide the story for the independent artist, the independent singer, also interesting people, and right about now, since to my left, I do have an interesting person with me. You know what I'm saying? This is a long-time friend, I remember when I would sit up here, I was in basically, just smelling myself, still smelling myself. I'm riding around with this man, just playing basketball. I ain't know what I'm saying, how good of an athlete he was, but he made his mark. And right now, it is an honor and my pleasure to have one of my main mans up here discussing a topic, a couple important topics that we're going to address today. My main man, Stagg, man. What's good, bro? What's good, man? Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you. Just want to enlighten my viewers right quick on Keith's accolades right quick. Keith Stagg is on Delaware State graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education. He did that in May of 2000. Also played men's basketball with them from 1994 to 97. He was also the assistant coach NCAA 2 West Virginia Wesleyan College. Also, he was with Wilmington, Delaware. He was also recently the head coach of the women's basketball team, the apprenticeship school out in Newport News, Virginia. He brought tournament titles to these various institutions. It's an honor and a pleasure to have my man right here sitting here with me right now. Appreciate you for coming, man. All right, man. All right, so this show in particular, if y'all don't know, if y'all didn't see the flyers, we're really gonna touch bases on structural racism and economic redevelopment, and along those lines, things along that nature. We're here to enlighten the people. We're here to educate, and we have me and my main man. We're friends, but we have different opinions on these views. You also probably will have different opinions as well. But it's good that we can sit up here and talk this out. My first topic, I'm gonna just go ahead and get into it. I'm talking about structural racism. Structural racism, if you don't know what structural racism is, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the definition right quick. Structural racism in the United States is known as the normalization and the legitimization of an array of dynamics, historical, cultural, institutional, and interpersonal, that routinely advantage whites while producing cumulative and chronic adverse outcomes for people of color. I think we all can agree that structural racism is a part of America. Can we agree on that one?
Definitely. There's a class of people that are above us that make all of the decisions. You and I talking off camera. There's a faction of people that make the decisions, and then there's a faction of people that have to do the work. Usually those people are subjugated, and in terms of where we are here in America, our people have been subjugated the most, meaning that, we're watched, we're clocked, they're clocking our energy, they're clocking our families, they're doing all, different things. And when I say they, it's a system that, it is so broad that, we just don't know. We don't know where it begins and where it ends. And for us, it just comes down to, just getting together, coming together and talking about different things, making sure that, or not just talking, because I think now is a time where we should be pooling our resources together and actually doing different things together, because, like what you're doing here right now, it's simple, but it's media. It gives us an opportunity. It's giving you a platform to talk about what it is. And I think that's probably one of the first things, if we wanted to combat, so-called racism, I think it would start with having these kinds of forums where people can come and talk, now with a lot of emotion, just talking about what the problem is and coming up with a solution to it.
Okay, so you made a statement right there, and I caught on to everything that you said, but it was one of the last things that he said when Keith said so-called racism. It is my opinion, it's just my opinion that there is pure 100%, no doubt about it, racism in this country. That's just my opinion. My main man, though, he has a different opinion.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's different. I just think that I think when you know where it comes from, so it's hard when you think about the word race. You know, of course, we know what that means. That means there's a race towards something. So how did that come to turn to? How did that come to mean skin color and
how did that
consanguinity? You know what I mean? So that's something that it could be debated. I don't know. I don't think I know. I don't know if you know, but we're just talking about if there's a. It's not just about black and white, because the faction of people that are above us. There are some black people, so-called black people, excuse me, and there are some so-called Europeans doing servicing the people, so to speak. When you have a government is supposed to be servicing the people.
That's right.
So when you are servicing the government, that right there kind of, that kind of negates, what we would think is, somebody taking care of you.
Right.
It's not, your government is supposed to, help you. You supposed to, give you the things that you needed. Not that they don't. I don't want to, get out here and talk about that. But what I will say is the term racism, that it's more than just racism that's just giving us the issues that we're having right now. It's more than just racism.
We're going to get right back to that. Hey, man, if you're not tuned in, you're rocking with the best. I'm your host, Sensei the Ace, man. Hey, man, I got to pay my bills right quick, man. Hey, man, when it comes to our voice, our culture, hey, man, we talking about the one and only Ro Holland, Doc Ford, them dudes, man. Hey, man, we talking about drinking on Sundays, man. Hey, man, salute to them, man. Appreciate you. Also, want to sit up there. I want to give a special shout out to my second sponsor, man. That's Lisa's, man. Lisa's Restaurant and Lounge, located on 107 Chuan Drive out here in Portsmouth, Virginia, man. Hey, man, she wants to let y'all know both sides are now opened up, man. Y'all feel free to come in. Forgive me because I'm not fully up to date on the hours, but hey, she's back open. She's back in full effect. Hey, feel free to drop her a note. Check out the webpage. Hit up, man. Hey, the food is, everything is still the same. Food is still good. Drinks are still great. Specials still going on. She still has a DJ. Hey, man, she's still doing the thing, man. I also want to give a special shout out to my other sponsor, my guy, man, Atlas Giles, man. Atlas Giles, man. He does my shirts and such as the one I'm wearing right now. Hey, he's with has his own company, 9A Fashions. His wife, Linda Giles, has Bougie Boutiques. Hey, she does her thing with the shirts as well. We need your shirts done. This Sands Corner. Make sure you holler at my homeboy Atlas Giles or his wife, Linda Giles. You can find both of them on Facebook. Also, make sure you holler at my homeboy when you need any of your events photographize. You need any pictures done, make sure you holler at my homeboy Richard Griffin, man. That's RichG_ on Instagram. Make sure you holler at him, man. That's my homeboy. That's my cameraman. Holler at him, man. For any of your pictures, anything you need done. Hey, graduation pictures. Hey, holler at him. Hey, man, so back with my main man right here, man, Keith Stagg, man. Hey, man, we're sitting up here talking about structural racism. We have a lot of interesting topics we're going to get into, but we're talking about structural racism right now. You made a lot of interesting points. I remember it was at a point where we were just as you explained, we were just at Alex's house a couple of days ago, and I was standing up and I made the comment, Donald Trump is a racist, and I think that caught your eye. So you stopped and you turned around and you asked the question, what makes you think that? So off gate, the average person is gonna say, well, he probably favored Trump, you know what I'm saying, because it sounds like he defended him.
Right.
All right, if I can get you to elaborate, I know that was a conversation between us in that house, but if I can get you to elaborate one more time on when you heard someone say Donald Trump is a racist.
Well, when it comes to politics, we don't have a dog in the race. There's not anybody that's up trying to, make sure, seeing our issues being met. If you go back and look at some of the old flicks of some of the old revolutionaries that talk about the problems of America in the 50s, 60s, 70s. You know, they're talking about the same kind of exact things that are going on now. So when I say that, when I asked you, was he a racist? You know, I'm just asking, you know, what makes you say that he's a racist? Or more than anything, when has there ever been, you know, somebody in office that was necessarily, I mean, there may have been some that wanted to do you some good, but, you know, I just think that's a moot point to say that, you know, your president's a racist, you know, and that's not to negate what you're saying.
I'm gonna say the reason why I say Donald Trump is a racist, when it comes to you're leading our entire country full of people of different ethnic backgrounds, it seems like all of the negative comments and negative attention coming from his political standpoint are based upon people of color.
Gotcha.
When it comes to, as you say, Caucasian views, Caucasian points when things happen. Perfect example. There was a soldier in the army, as you say, European. He served his country. He met his demise. My condolences to his family. And Doc 45 has so much positivity to say on behalf of this man. In the same breath, I can tell you that there was an African American Army Ranger who passed away. His body was left. His troop left. And one thing I do know as a veteran, you do not leave a man behind. But this man's body was left when they went back and got his remains. When his body and his remains were brought back, the only thing Mr. Trump could say was, well, he knew what he signed up for.
Gotcha.
You know, that's a little insensitive to me.
Gotcha.
You
okay.
know,
Okay.
You know,
so I guess that insensitivity could, you know, I'm with you, man. Hey, I'm gonna just tell you like how I believe. You know, I believe that, you know, in order to combat something like what you're talking about, racism, I think you got to live above it. And in order to live above it, you've got to study it and understand it. As for our people, you know, of course, we don't know our history the way that we probably should. You know, we did get to recently celebrate the Juneteenth.
Yes, we did.
And I thought that was pretty good.
Shout out to Juneteenth, man.
That was something that may have been long overdue, but
yes, it was.
I always tell people, go back and look at what you're actually celebrating. And you'll see that, you know, again, we still have a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
You know, we got a long way to go, and it's not about getting hugs. It's about, you know, establishing, you know, something, and like what you're doing here, just establishing a platform. This is something that if you were to be lucky enough to, you know, continue it and, you know, get people behind you, this is something that you could possibly leave to, you know, your own children, maybe even your grandchildren. So I just think that I don't want people concentrating on racism. I think it should be just people concentrating on what can I do to help my grandchildren or the next generation. Because you know, that's where for our people the thought process has got to be.
Dope, man. If you're not tuned in, you're not rocking with the best. I'm your host, Sensei H. On another dope episode of Sands Corner, man. Hey, man. So I'm talking about structural racism. Got my special guest to the left of me, Keith Stagg, man, my main man, very enlightened individual. To getting back to structural racism, a lot of people don't know, nor do they understand. There are a lot of key points when it comes to structural racism, but at the same token, we want to sit up there and just focus on the main five that have a highly dynamic consequence when it comes to us as a people. The five key principles of structural dynamics, the five key that really, you know, affect us when it comes to the United States. We're talking about housing, education, mass media, wealth and jobs, and criminal justice. If you don't mind, I'm gonna sit up there and explain to you what I mean by that. When it comes to housing, structural racism. When it comes to housing, structural racism, we have the black father being taken out of the house, the black father being taken out of the home, our black men being incarcerated for non-violent felonies for years and years at a time. Versus when it comes to the European persuasion, you might have to get the same crime for way less time. The structural racism, when it comes to education, realizing that taxes pay for education. Taxes pay for education, and I can't really get into the gist of it, but I know my main man here might have a better view on it. But when there's not a lot of funding being poured into our educational institutions, then we're just not going to produce at a higher level. Mass media is as you would look at it, mass media is when you look at the news and all you see is us on TV. When it's not just us out here doing bad shit. Excuse my language. Wealth and jobs. Because of the last three put a strain on wealth and jobs because of the housing, because of different differentials within the last three. Different issues without the father, not being a man being able to being raised up without a father. That's different. Some men a lot of people are raised up without fathers, and they are successful good, yes. But wealth and jobs, it's harder for us to get a job. It's way harder for us to get a job. And the last one, criminal justice. If we fall into that criminal justice system, when we come back out, the system recycles. We start all over again, and it's even that much harder for us to get a job with a record. That's just my opinion. That's just how I see it, my opinions on it. But of course, I got my main man right here. I'm gonna get into that with him, but he we had a conversation, and he brought up a lot of good topics that we as a people, the majority of us believe that a lot of us came from Africa. And up until I had a conversation with Keith the other day, this is pretty much not true. All of us did not come from Africa. A lot of us came from right here. And I did not know that until I asked Keith about it. You got to get enlightened. So, Keith, when you say that a majority of us are not from Africa, I'm sorry. Some of us are not from Africa. The majority are. Some of us are not. Mm-hmm. When you made that statement, can you enlighten my people on what you meant by that?
Well, basically, it's going to be something that you have to research on your own. I've had the fortune in my life. I was able to know about my great grandparents and on both sides of my family, and finding out who and what they were. That made me understand that, okay, well, if their parents didn't necessarily come from Africa, then that means they were already here. Mm-hmm. I'm quite sure that there are maybe some people that could go back and look in their history and see that maybe they did, but I'm willing to, I think a lot of us were already here, and I think that's that sense of pride and being at home that we experience. I've had a chance to go away. I know you've lived away from here.
Yeah, I've lived abroad.
It's nothing like being home.
True.
Just your family and that sort of thing.
True.
So, with that being said, I know I'm going off, but I would just say for people if you really were interested in finding out, just research your family tree, and a lot of us may not have come from there. I think that's been part of what's going on, but a lot of that truth may be coming out here in the near future, whereas it won't be just coming from someone's mouth. It's going to be, you'll be able to research it and say, wow, okay, this is what it is. Again, I don't know. I don't want to negate what's been told to people in the past, but you asked me my opinion.
Yeah, this is strictly yours.
Yeah, and what I just believe is that for the people here in this area, I think if they go back and search, they'll find that their people were already here.
Quick question for you, man. Question. Just a question as a black man. Do you feel that we as African Americans, matter of fact, us people, I don't want to put a title on it, but do you feel like we need our own political party aside from being Republican or Democratic or Independent? Do you feel that we, as our people, as our skin, need our own political party?
Oh man, that's a good question. Your own political party, but in what platform? Because if you have a political party in what we're living in right now, I think it's too prone to corruption. So it has to be an overhaul. It has to be an overhaul in everything. As for our people, I think that it's just important that it starts with the home. It starts with self-governing yourself, just making sure that you're making decisions that are gonna affect the next generation. Case in point, when I get up and I'm ready to go to the store and I've got, I want some chips and I want a sandwich or something, if I'm thinking about my family, would I go out and go to Subway and get the sandwich, or would I think about my family and start growing the things at home? And that's the decision making that, that's where we are as a people. So as far as just having somebody in this particular political realm, I don't know how advantageous that's going to be for us. Maybe it'll give us somebody to say that's going to speak for us, but as far as what we need as a people to grow, I think it's important that it first starts with at home, us taking care of home situations,
self-policing.
Yeah, self-policing, making sure that we're checking our own selves. If you got people out doing stuff. It was just funny today. I was leaving the store and it was a young man. He asked me, he said, "Man, can you go and buy me a block and mile?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, man, I can't do it, but the only reason is because I love you." And, I gave him some dap and I kept it moving. Now, that might not mean anything, but it doesn't mean, it might not have meant anything to him at the time, because the next guy that came up, he gave him the buck and he went and bought him a, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're just talking about what we need. We need to start with just policing ourselves.
That sounds like a statement I've heard a long time. For a long time, I know if you heard this as well. Mm-hmm. It takes a village to raise a child. And just as well as I know that has been out the window for a very long time. I know, and what I'm about to say, I know you have went through it as well. 9 times out of 10, you don't went through it. A lot of you people sitting up here watching or that will watch this will know that if you're my age or better, you couldn't just sit up there and walk around your neighborhood and do something messed up, because people know your peoples, and you can do something messed up and walk maybe 2 inches, 2 feet or whatever, and miss somebody coming out. And gonna beat you down in that street. Yeah, she might beat you down in that street. After you get finished taking that beat down, you gonna walk off. She can go back in the house, call your peoples. She can call your mama. She can call your dad. She can call somebody. And by the time you get home, now you done called another one. You done called it again, and your dad ain't came home from work yet. So now you gonna catch it 3 times. That, I believe, that right there, that has went out the window. That's another fundamental that is another foundation that has cracked. A part of the foundation that has cracked is the reason why our house is so much settling in and dividing, because a lot of people don't feel like that's not taking care of us. A lot of people feel like, don't put your hands on my child and all of that. Right. In actuality, it's taking care of your child. For real, things have changed. Things have changed.
And it might not have been for the better. So, like I said, it's just us having to go back. I'm not very religious, but I think there is something that says something to, you honor thy mother and father,
that day shall be lengthened.
So that doesn't mean that. I think what that does mean is that you're always trying to do right in that honor by them.
Right.
And if you're doing it that way, a lot of times, those bad decisions that people make, if you stick to what your mother and father taught you, it'll help, guide you through those tough situations. And, people have gotten away from that.
Raise the seed right, nurture the seed, feed the seed, give the seed knowledge, seed will grow properly. That's a fact. That is a fact. Hey, we got sometimes we got cases where it's hey, it is what it is, but hey, when the Jordan, as Keith said, starts in the home.
But saying, and just to say now, you might grow that seed and you might be doing all the right things, but what happens in what separates the human from the seed, now once in human talk, once that seed gets grown, now it leaves the home.
Yeah,
and now it starts to become its own.
That's right.
And if you just look around in our communities, so-called communities, if you look in our, what is propagated to our people and what we think is the American way, that's a tough way of living.
Right.
And, not all of us can bounce a basketball, not all of us can sing, not all of us can do the different things that, our society has deemed the way of what you call making it. Because understand, there's some hungry kids out here that want to make it.
Yeah.
But how do you determine what making it is? And a lot of that comes from, yourself. I know, just growing up my own self, I just wanted to play college basketball. That was something that was huge for me. And once I got there, I remember thinking, dang, I wish I would have thought a little bigger, because I actually went out and did it. I spent the time, doing those things. But, nowadays, what is making it for a kid, or for a young person?
What is the definition?
That looks like you and I. What is making it? If you see the baby on TV, and he's, talking about, his riches, it's kind of tough for everybody to live that way.
You made a very interesting point when you said, what's the definition of making it? Because me being a child versus now me being an adult in my 30s, my mid-30s, me being a child, 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, looking up to adults, looking up to, athletes.
Right.
Me saying, yeah, they made it, is basically me seeing that person, they got a nice car, or, furthermore, they have a nice home. They have a nice home. The home was, you got a nice home. I pretty much thought, and you're owning your home. I mean, not no shade to rentals, but you're owning your home. Nice car, you got a family and whatnot, doing your thing. To me, I felt like that was making it. Now, that was me at 9, 10, 11 years old. I'm 35 years old right now, and I promise you that my idea of making it is if I get pulled over by the police, I'm hoping that I'm able to pull off. I mean, in any way, shape, or form, I'm able to still be breathing after that encounter. It done went from here to pretty much downhill, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
think about that.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a tough way to grow up, man.
Things done changed, very severely. Whereas it's to the point where I used to be worried about having a roof over my head. Now, I'm not worried about having a roof over my head. I'm worried about being able to walk underneath that roof after it's all said and done. That's pretty much how I've seen it. I may overthink things or whatnot, but that's how I'm looking at things, man. If you're not tuned in, you rock with the best. I'm the host, Sincere the Ace, man. You're on another dope episode of Sam's Corner. We're talking about structural racism and economic redevelopment, which is the next topic that we're about to get into. I got my main man sitting to my left side, Keith Stagg, man. Graduate, man. Delaware State, man. Bachelor degree in physical education, man. Hey, beyond that, the man is a very enlightened. We're not talking about his basketball accolades, the championships that he's brought back to the institutions that he's head coach. That we're not focusing on that at this time. But hey, look him up. We're also talking about what we're talking about is the topics at hand, man. This is a very enlightened individual right here. Right now, I'm gonna move on to my next topic, which is we the final one, which is economic redevelopment, man, for real. When I think about economic redevelopment in question, I almost picked up that cigar. When I think about that, when for real, I almost picked it up. When I think about that, man, first of all, I'm gonna be real. Just like a lot of people they didn't know the definition of it. I didn't know the definition of it. I didn't know, the definition of what it meant until I actually looked it up, and I actually looked it up underneath a good topic. I looked up economic redevelopment, which and you should too. Look it up underneath one of our own, a man by the name of Marcus Garvey. Make sure you look that up. Look that up. My main man, Marcus Garvey, was a Caribbean American, and he grew up in Jamaica. He was born in Jamaica, and this man, being honest, he was a black man, and he was inspired by the autobiography of Booker T. Washington. He read that book. His book inspired him to go out. As he went out and traveled about the world, basically from the Caribbean to the United States, and saw how us as a people were treated, our color. He saw it, it was trifling, basically, in other words, how we were at the bottom of the pole. We were always at the bottom of the pole when it came to anything, jobs, respect, anything. And Mr. Garvey came back home and created what is known now as the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, which has thousands of chapters in America. Look it up, man. The UIA was basically the foundation, the corporation that, if you haven't realized it, we as a people don't have anybody to go to bat for us when it comes down to to certain political topics. We don't have that as us older people, as the older people say. We don't have that many of us there, batting for us. The UNIA was created upon that. Mr. Garvey saw that it was atrocious for us as people to be the most skilled people in the nation to have such low standards to live upon. So this was created, and in turn, the UNIA saw the importance of economics and independent institutions as fundamentals of freedom, not just something that we had to earn. That recognized it as something that we should have been given just like everybody else. Some people have shade to say toward Mr. Garvey, being as how he sided with, someone saying that we as a people should go back to Africa. You may have heard people say, why don't you go back to Africa? Get on the boat and go back to Africa. Mr. Garvey sided with that. Let me explain. Mr. Garvey sided with that because Mr. Garvey thought that we should go back to Africa so that we can develop our own nation of government, our own country. Wakanda, if that's what you wanted to call it. That's the main reason why he wanted it. Think I'm wrong? Case in point, look it up. Mr. Garvey came up with a business called the Black Star Steam Line Company, which basically he was returning people back to Africa, amongst other things, trade and going to trade posts and whatnot, doing trades for the country or whatnot for our people. But it was mainly to send our people back to Africa. He was trying to get us back. If you don't know about Marcus Garvey, look him up. The man had one of the biggest movements by our people. We're talking about he had over 1,000 chapters in America, and there was over 1 million people in it. Or just look him up. I don't want to sit up there and speak out of tongue, speak out of context. But if you don't know your history about Marcus Garvey, man, that brother tried. That brother tried, man. Getting back to him. It was all about us having our own, as my main man said, farming, growing our own, spending within the black community, making the black dollar worth way more than what it is now. You may look in your wallet and see a $100 bill, but that's a $100 bill coming out of your wallet versus the $100 bill coming out of somebody. You may think it's all the same, but trust me, it's not. And just like I spoke before, every leader that we've ever had has either been assassinated or done away with. The man sit up there and got set up for mail fraud. which he had nothing to do with. He got. I'm talking about Marcus Garvey. He got sent to the penitentiary. Now he was there until Calvin Coolidge, the president, commuted his sentence and let him go. But when he commuted his sentence, he sent him back to Jamaica. No, you get you away from here. You know, you can't be doing all that here. My question for you, Keith, is when it comes to economic redevelopment, what is your opinion on how now, because we got a lot of issues with it, you know, why we can't or cannot do it at this time. What is your opinion on how do you feel? So the opinion on it is, the question I was about to ask Keith was, what's his opinion on how does he feel that we as a people can come together to create a better economic redevelopment? What is his opinion? What are your thoughts in regards to that?
Well, I mean, definitely, if we're gonna get back, if we're gonna get together, it starts with, you know, you having to put all of your differences aside, your religious differences, your political differences, your
good point.
You know, religious, political. I think that's for our people. We start there and start coming together and saying, okay, let's pool resources. You know, and I just always, you know, I coach basketball, and one of the things that I always tell my guys, you don't have to bring the whole dollar every day, but bring your quarter, and if your other teammates bring their quarter, if y'all bring your quarter every day, and if you do that,
you'll have a dollar.
Right, you'll have a lot of dollars.
Yeah, a lot of
but
dollars.
If you can just look at it and let me make sure that I bring my quarter, and let me bring my quarter without worrying about what they doing with it, or you know that's the biggest thing is divide. You know, if we ever could get over the divides that we have as a folks, you know, that would be huge in the progression of, you know, our people. Just the ability to say, you know, I always use this as an example. The street that you live on, let's say if it was 10 houses on that street, everybody, normally where we come from, a lot of times people all pretty much go to work. Now imagine if we got 10 houses, everybody's working. If every house, the average income here in America or in our communities is probably about $25,000-$30,000. If you got 10 houses and everybody's making that much money, and we say, hey, we're gonna do everything as a unit. We're gonna pay our bills as a unit. We're gonna pay our mortgages as a unit. We're gonna do, you know, imagine what that would do, how much money that would free up for each, you know, particular family to do other things.
The reason why I asked you that, I asked a lot of questions because I have rebuttal questions after that. Mm-hmm. The reason why I asked you that is because, as a lot of you know, which you don't know, there's a town, I believe it's in Georgia, that a whole town that's up for auction for, I believe the asking price was $1.7 million. This is for a whole town, a whole entire town. Now, I imagine, while you were saying if we could all come together and put our resources together, it would free up a lot of stuff for this family, that family, so on and so on. My question is, that's the point is that's up. It's up on the market. We know it's there, and we have not come to know. Like, what's stopping us from doing this? Like, why haven't we all? Because I was like, think about it. You know just as well as I know. If we set up there and do this, all right, we get enough people to get, you know, to put this together. Now we have to have, you know, leaders in the community, political leaders. You know, who's the mayor, this, that, and the third, yada yada yada. With everything that's going on, what do you feel is one of the things that may stop the progression? If let's just say, as if we have gotten it, we acquired it. If we all came together and acquired it, what do you feel like would stop us from acquiring, from progressing and building, from building with this whole city. Keep in mind, we have a whole city that we just bought.
Mm-hmm.
It's ours.
But it would be the same as with any business. You know, you got logistics that you got to deal with. You got to deal with everybody's personality. You got to deal with ulterior motives. You know, so that's why it's important to make sure when you get in with a group of people that you are all of like mind. I forget exactly who it is that I quoted with that, but you know, it's more important to have 10 people with the mind of one than to have, you know, it being in reverse. You know, you got 10 people
with individual minds. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because you're not going to be able to get the things that you want done. It's sacrifice. There has to be a lot of sacrifice that has to go on as for, you know, our people. There has to be a lot of sacrifice, meaning, you know, driving nice cars and living in lavish homes might not be the tea of the moment. It might be about setting things up so that I remember growing up. I grew up in Suffolk, and if you just remember, if you started on what we know as Norfolk Road, which is East Washington Street. At one point in time, there was June Willett, there was Rosa Williams.
Talk about corner stores.
Corner stores. I'm sorry. There was Alphas. I'm still not sure who was running Alphas, but
I remember Alphas.
Then you had Artist Store, which was right up the street a little bit. Then you had LL White Store. You got a little further up, I can remember in Williamstown there was a store that was, you know, owned by, you know, people that looked like you and I.
It was, yeah.
So if you look now at all of those spots, you know, not to say who and what, but look who owns those spots now. You know,
I can go even further and go further. We talking about Saratoga right down Wellens. That was Thomas Store. I know y'all remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Then right there you had one on Market Street.
Yeah.
That was another one of our stores.
That was a great store.
That was another, yeah, man.
Right.
We had a lot of our businesses, and just as you said, they're not here anymore, or they're not ran by us anymore.
Right. So, you know, there's been an infrastructure in place that we know. We lived it. So we just got to get back to that. Got to find a way back to that. Got to find a way of getting, you know, everybody on board with what it is. Now, that's the hard issue. That's the racism that you speak of, you know, and that other faction of people that we talk about that have oppressed us. They're together. So it's in a lot of ways that would look like to you that, oh, they're being racist, but what it is that taking care of their own.
Good point.
Where, you know,
that was a good point.
And our community is, let me take care of our own until I can get what I can get, and then it's let me branch out. There's always, you know, everybody wants to be Michael, nobody wants to be
Scott.
The other.
Don't nobody want to be Pippen or Rodman or Kukos
or excuse me, I was talking about. See, you love basketball. So
yeah.
But I was talking about Michael Jackson. Don't nobody want to be Tito, Jermaine.
No.
Yeah. but what I was saying, you know, just that. You know, you gotta be egoless. You have to be willing to sacrifice, and it's a lot of. In order for us to get the what you were talking about, the economic development, you know, you first got to have that. You know, you got to get back to that. You got to get back to knowing what each person, when you're getting your paycheck, even just having a paycheck, just kind of, if you can create something of your own, that would first start economic development. But if you're working and you have a job like we all do, what are you doing with your money? Are you investing your money? That don't mean you got to go and invest in Apple. A lot of times you can go and invest in your family by opening up, not even opening up. You can have a chest in your backyard and you go and put $100 in there and you just don't nobody know about it but you. But as soon as there's an emergency comes up, don't nobody know why you're able to come until everybody's ready to understand that, hey, we got this pit of money here. Are you all ready to add to it? Because now it can be even more. True. You know? So that's how I think you would do it. I think it's real simple. A lot of the issues that I think, you know, we were talking about, you know, the racism and stuff, you know, those are points of distraction to get you away from understanding what, you know, really is going on. What's really going on around you is your energy is being usurped. You know, your energy is being taxed. And what you want to start doing is making sure that what you're doing benefits you and your family. That's all. If we get back to just that simple premise, even in living in what we're living in right now, you know, having to work a job, you know, most people work 8-10 hours a day. So that means you got 14 other hours. You should be resting maybe 7 or 8 of them. But what are you doing as far as with building a bond with your family, your friends, and that sort of thing? And if you're doing those things, I think we can start the coming together that you and I that we talking about that needs to be. So
good answer, man. Good answer. That I appreciate that, because that you hit on some good key points. The points that I was sitting up there, the things I had in my mind. You bring ahead and started out with those, and you started manifesting my thoughts, man. It's like, just like the man said, we need to come together as a people, you know, basically. If we can get aside from get out of my business and this, that, and the third, and come together as a people and get rid of the judgments and this, that, and the third, we will be a powerful people. I pretty much guarantee you that. If you're not tuning in, you're not rocking with the best, I'm your host, Sensation, on another episode of Sense Corner, podcast where I myself sit up there and enlighten you with interesting people, independent rappers, independent singers. Right now, to my left, I have the one and only Stagg. Accolades, you can Google them. I mentioned them previously in the show. I mean, hell, you can Google them, man. You can Google them, man. He's straight from my hometown in South Virginia, man. Long time friend. I ask you certain questions, like I said, I ask you certain questions because I have rebuttal questions from. There was a summit that was done a little while back that involved Killer Mike, T.I., Candace Owens, and various others. Not trying to throw shade because I can't remember those names, but it was one young lady up there. Her first name is Tamika. I can't remember her last name, but she spoke with Stephen Jackson about you know, our brother that we lost, George Floyd. I forget her name, but that is a powerful speaker. Getting back, they had a summit. That was sponsored by AT&T. This was a summit for us. There was no bleeping out any cuss words. No, you can look it up on YouTube. If you don't believe me, you can go ahead and look it up. It's something very powerful. As I said, it had Candace Owens. She was a part of it. As a lot of us are not big fans of hers, I am not one of her biggest fans. No, I'm not. But
but why though? Just tell me why. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. Candace Owens, all right, she stated that she's not a Republican, she's not a Democrat, but she sides with our current president, who is a Republican. Yeah. Her points and views and what she said, she sides more with the Republican Party and not throwing shade on the Republican Party, because as if you don't know, we were all Republicans at one point in time.
Okay, that is.
I had to get that out.
Okay,
I know.
So,
I had to
so
get that out
with
there.
that being said, I understand what your answer is, and just understand that Democrat, Republican is really no difference. Not a big difference there. So her not having a political affiliation is I understand that she sides with Trump on a lot of things, but
she's a smart dumb person.
Yeah, but if you looked at when I looked at that particular when I looked at that platform with Killer Mike, T.I., I thought that it was, and this is just my opinion, it was too much disrespect going on. There was not enough people listening to each other. Mike seem to, kind of sum it all up because he has a alpha male type of voice. So he's able to, kind of sum it all up. But, if you ever really go back and listen to what Ms. Owens, because I'm not a fan of nobody.
All right, I'm gonna give it where it's given, where it needs to be given. Okay. One of the points where she said, one of the things that she said was that the Democratic vote will not matter in a few years. And a lot of people took offense to that even after she explained it. I got where she was coming from that. She felt like the Democratic vote would not matter in a few years because we have a lot of illegal aliens, as they want to call them, coming in that would take part and subside with the Democratic vote. They would outweigh. It would be more. I'm just going to say more Spanish Americans than it would be African Americans. I believe that's my point of what she was trying to say. So I give her that point. And in other instances, I couldn't really agree with her. But getting to the main point that I wanted to ask you, the question I wanted to ask you in regards to Killer Mike, I fuck with dude, man. Killer Mike said in regards, he said that we are arguing about who serves the best master. That's what he said. He said we're arguing over who serves the best master. When, like you said, he was the alpha male of the summit. He was the alpha male of the board. Just quite frankly, he was actually sitting in the middle, which that means nothing. But the man made a very good point in regards to, he was listening to what was being said on this side. He was listening to what was being said on that side, and what basically he summed it up to was, we were arguing over who served the best master, whose master was the best. That is the reason why I asked you, do you feel like we need our own political party?
Oh yeah.
That was the reason why. But getting back to the question at hand.
But if with that, with that political party, there is, like Jay-Z said with the Colin Kaepernick thing, now it's an action plan. Now we need actionable things. So now once you get the party, now to make sure that those guys don't become corrupt, we got to have an actual plan as to, once we get these people, what are they going to do? How are we going to gauge that they're doing what they're supposed to do? Because we know that it could easily be business as usual. Who's checking the balances and people in Washington? Those aren't things that you and I are privy. That's not knowledge that you and I are privy to.
Facts.
But the thing of it is out there. If there's anything that wants to be researched, it might cost a little money, but it can be researched from your ancestry to where your tax dollars go, all of that stuff. If it's something that you truly want to find out, but it's just like with anything, you gotta go and you gotta put that work in. And for our people, that type of work, we've gotten away from that. We had a lot of scholars, Booker T. Washington, W.B. Du Bois. Those men, there were a lot more men like them. But, we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from just a lot of things, man. And it's just there are so many things that need to be fixed with our people. But it starts with what I was saying earlier, just coming together in a aspect of trying to do something. It's not just coming together and kicking it and throwing a barbecue. Okay, we want to come together and kick it and throw the barbecue, but we want to have a plan of action, because the work is done Monday through Friday. For most people in this world, Monday through Friday is probably when they're making their money.
Right.
So what are we doing to fund our own communities Monday through Friday? You got to go to work. If that's what's going on right now, you got to go to work. So,
but it's just hard for our people to get work. And I understand we have some people.
True.
We on either side of the board, though. At the same token, on either side of the board, we have people that are just lazy, and that's on every side of the board. It just feels like things should just come to them. We have that. That's on every side of the board. But for a lot of us, it's hard to get a job.
Yeah. And you probably, at this day and age, you probably shouldn't even be looking for a job. You should be looking for your passion. That's what, I have 3 kids, and that's what I try to tell them. What are you passionate about? What would you do every day? And somebody said, listen, you can do this every day and we'll, you can get paid for it or maybe you won't get paid for it. But if you could do it and you could make, enough money to live comfortably, what would that be? And once you find your vehicle to sustain yourself, then I think you start to begin that quest of finding who you are, finding, what your purpose is, because that is a journey. That's a journey that, you got to be willing. But think about how many people that we know that they concerned with going to work, getting blowed, whatever.
But they have a dope talent that they could do every day for the rest of their life and get paid off of it. Hey man, Sister Ace, man, aka Jericho, says you right now rocking with the best on Sin's Corner, man. Rocking with, to my left, the most knowledgeable Keith Stagg, man. Hey man, look him up. So sitting here, I got to ask my man a question because I have my opinion on it and I want to know his. Hey Keith, man, is there such thing as black on black crime, or is this just a coined phrase by the media to make us look bad? This is a question I have for you, bro.
Well, I'll say this for everybody: look up the term "black" in the dictionary.
Ooh,
and that'll kind of give you. Ooh. I don't know if that will start. That should start a quest for you. In that, that's not. There's no such. There's no such thing as black. So if you can't, if they're not a people, well, I'm sorry. You have to look up the term black to understand when you hear the media say black on black crime, that is not a term of endearment. That is a term of heredity and of that sort of thing.
He was speaking. You heard him. It ain't like, you know what I'm saying, you didn't hear what he said. But me, I'm the type, I like to repeat good shit when I heard. There is no such thing as black on fucking black crime, dog. For real. And I know what he's trying to get at it with his point. Like he said, if you sit up there and you look up the definition of black, how can there be black on black crime when you do not define as that definition? I'm just being honest. I know he can go into a little bit more in depth. But, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being, like he said, that should start a quest. That should start something up for you. Look that up. In my opinion, there is no such thing as black on black crime. There is. There's crime all over the board. There's white on black, black on white, black on Chinese, Chinese on whatever. Like they're just Mexican or whatever. The media aspect has, the only thing they're focused on showing you is everything that we do. If you all your life you've been looking at on the TV, all you've been seeing is everything we do, then what are you programmed to think? I mean, that's just my opinion, man. There is no such thing as black on black crime. When they say, oh well, when the police sit up there and when the police see all this black on black crime going on, but when the police shoot a black person, there's a problem. Bro, ain't no such shit. Ain't no such thing as black on black crime. There is no such thing as. There's no such thing as black on black crime. There's crime. Period. Program yourself to think there is crime. Point blank, period, man. That's just my opinion, though. If you rock with me, looking at me, hey, you might feel how I feel. If you don't, hey, I appreciate you for your view, man. If you're not tuned in, you rock with the best. I'm your host, Sense H, on another episode of Sin's Corner, man. Hey, man, you know how I do it. I got the one and only Keith Stagg, Sense to my left, man. Very knowledgeable individual. Look up his accolades. Very knowledgeable about basketball, pure athlete, but he's very knowledgeable about his people. And I just would like to I wanted to have him to share his opinion on this platform on what it is we need to do better. You know, hey, very respectable man. If you don't know him, you got to know him. I mean, especially from Suffolk. I mean, I know you know his son. I know you know his son. His son is a junior. I mean, look him up. You know what I'm saying? So man, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap this interview up right quick. Where can my people find you at, man? Where can my people find you at to get in contact if they have questions along after this interview, where can they find you at, man?
Oh man, man, I'm around. I'm right in Suffolk, man. The people that can get on Facebook. I just recently got back on Facebook. I'm always available to our community. People. I live right in Suffolk, so everybody that knows me, know where they can find me at. But just in wrapping this thing here up, man, just want to thank you for having me up here, and just hopefully, during this time that we have right now, I know people calling it a pandemic and all of the different things, but this is really a time for you to, reflect and start coming up with those thinking outside the box moments of what you really might want to be doing with your, remaining days. I know that's what I'm doing. It's a uneasy time, but if you think about it, it's definitely a time where you can focus on the things that really matter. And the things that really matter are yourself, your family, your community. And once you get out of your community, then it starts, you want to branch out into your people. So that's what I think this time is for, man. If you look at all of the different, podcasts, like, I've been really looking at a lot of podcasts and, stuff like this right here. This is a way to get information out to people, and you just gotta make sure that, you keep it up, understand there's gonna be bumps in the road, and understand that a lot of times, opportunities come disguised as hard work. So, continue doing that, continue, putting the things that you're doing out, and keep that curious spirit that you got, so that once you start, disseminating to the people, you giving them what they need, and they can get, what it is, because it starts with taking care of ourselves. It starts with taking care of what are we hearing. What is the media telling you? Are we talking more about, like you said, all the bad things that we're doing, or are we going to uplift all of the good things? Are we going to talk about our history? We're going to get our true history. So, it's a lot. It starts with stuff like this, man. So, you keep doing what you're doing.
Off top.
No doubt.
Off top. I appreciate you. Hey, man, quick question, man.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to tell you, but I wasn't trying to get into too many of his accolades right quick. But Keith was an AAU coach for many years, man, many years. So which led me up to a personal question. What you don't know is, which I forgot to tell you off camera, every interview I have a personal question for my interviewees. Which the personal question is, would you or do you now mentor young men at this current point in time?
Oh yeah, well, I was just recently coaching at Warwick High School in Newport News. Okay. So I had that group of young men. For me, when we talk about mentoring, I don't have, now there's not when I'm coaching, I got those guys, I'm going to take care of those guys. But I think now, during this time that we have off, that is where my mindset is going about, how can I affect, a little bit more, how can I affect more young men, that grew up the way that I grew up. I was fortunate, I grew up in a two-family home. I was able to, do certain things. I was able to, I had a great support system, but I also knew guys that didn't have that support system, but they still went on and did great things. So I'm just trying to give back to that community that I came from, so I guess to answer, that question is, that's an ongoing thing for me. Any kid that I see now, a lot of times, all I see is myself, but then here's the second part of it. Now I have a son, so when I see other people's kids, I see my own child, and it's like, hey, what you doing? If you need any help, let me know. But, I think that now I need to go a step further than that. I need to have something in place that they can come and get that help, as opposed to, me just saying, hey, man, if you need me, give me a call. Now, if I got a building or if I got somewhere for you, right. So that's what I'm thinking.
That's dope, man. Hey, man, you can reach Keith Stagg at Keith Stagg on Facebook, man. Stagg, Stagg, man. Holler at him, man, on Facebook. Like he said, he just recently got back on. Holler at him, man. If you have a child or whatever you feel like you want to have mentored, especially in the area of Suffolk, hey, man, give him a holler, man. Like I said, I appreciate y'all, man. I'm Sensei the Ace, man, a.k.a. Jericho Sin. I had the one and only Keith Stagg sitting here to my left, man. We were sitting up here talking about economic redevelopment, and we talk about structural racism. Yeah, I got that right. Y'all didn't think I would do it. Hey, man, as always, man, you can always, with all of my shows, you can go ahead and hit the little zoom and zip back and go back and review all of my shows. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and go on YouTube. Subscribe to my shows. Sensei the Ace on YouTube, man. Subscribe to my show, man. So you can also check out some of your favorite interviews from everybody that I've ever interviewed, such as Lamont Struthers to Gifted Hands to anybody, man. Just check it out, man. I'm pretty deep up there, man. I'm keeping it going. Hey, man, but, man, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you coming through, spending your time, man. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Hey, man, if you're not tuned in, you just finished rocking with the best, man. I'm your host, Sensei the Ace, Keith Stagg, my love. Hey, man, that's it, man. We out of here. Bam.